Life rarely follows the script we plan. When was the last time you felt control slipping through your fingers? Perhaps an important project collapsed, a relationship unexpectedly ended, or a global pandemic completely transformed your reality. In moments like these, where can we find stability? For nearly 2,300 years, an ancient philosophy has offered a map for navigating the turbulent seas of human existence. Stoicism isn't just a historical relic, it's a surprisingly relevant practical tool for modern challenges. In the next few minutes, I'll share 3 Stoic principles that transformed my own relationship with uncertainty and have helped countless people find clarity amid chaos. These aren't just abstract concepts, they're applicable practices you can implement today to develop a more resilient mind. The first Stoic principle we'll explore is the dichotomy of control, the fundamental distinction between what is and isn't in our power. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, began his life manual, the Enchiridion, with this crucial observation. Some things are within our control, while others are not. At first glance, it seems obvious, almost banal. But the depth of this distinction reveals itself when consciously applied to daily life. What exactly is under our control? According to the Stoics, only our own choices, judgments, desires, and aversions, essentially our internal response to events. Everything else, from the weather to other people's opinions, from the global economy to our own mortality, is beyond our direct control. This isn't a philosophy of passivity or resignation, as some misinterpret. On the contrary, it's an invitation to direct our energy only where it can be truly effective. Imagine you're preparing for an important job interview. What's under your control? You can research the company, practice answers to common questions, ensure you're rested and prepared. What's not under your control? Your chemistry with the interviewer, whether another candidate has internal connections, or if the company has just implemented a hiring freeze. The Stoics teach us to invest our energy completely in what we can influence, while accepting with equanimity what's beyond our power. This principle frees us from the exhausting battle against reality. When we stop fighting against the inevitable, we reclaim an enormous amount of mental and emotional energy. How would you apply this principle to a concern you're facing now? Mentally identify what is and isn't under your control in that situation. Do you feel the difference in your perspective when you make this conscious distinction? The second Stoic principle is Amor Fati, the love of fate. This is perhaps the most powerful attitude we can cultivate in the face of uncertainty. It's not just about accepting what happens, but actively embracing each circumstance as necessary and even beneficial for our growth. Friedrich Nietzsche, though not a Stoic, perfectly captured this concept when he wrote, "My formula for human greatness is Amor Fati, not wanting anything different, not forward, not backward, not for all eternity, not merely to endure the necessary, but to love it." This principle invites us to a radical reorientation of our relationship with external events. What if, instead of resisting adversities, we saw them as opportunities precisely tailored for our development? When we lose a job, face illness, or experience loss, we can ask, how can I use this circumstance to become wiser, stronger, more compassionate? Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, regularly practiced this attitude, writing in his Meditations, "Love only what happens to you and what is spun by fate, for what could suit you better?" Note that this isn't about naive optimism or denying real suffering. It's a stance that fully acknowledges difficulties, but deliberately chooses to see them as part of a necessary path. Imagine you're stuck in traffic on your way to an important meeting. Frustration naturally arises. But what happens when you consciously adopt Amor Fati? Perhaps this delay is exactly what you need, a forced moment of pause in a busy day, an opportunity to reflect or listen to that podcast you've been putting off. This shift in perspective doesn't change the traffic jam, but it completely transforms your experience of it. What situation in your life right now could be transformed by Amor Fati? The third Stoic principle is Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. It may seem contradictory, after talking about loving fate, to suggest that we should contemplate everything that could go wrong. But this Stoic practice has nothing to do with pessimism or anticipatory anxiety. Rather, It's a deliberate exercise of imagining potential adversities as a form of mental and emotional preparation. Seneca, the Roman statesman and Stoic philosopher, advised, "Let whatever happens, happen. Think about it beforehand, and whatever happens, you won't be disturbed." This exercise works on multiple levels. It desensitizes our fear of the unknown, reduces shock when things actually go wrong, and allows us to plan response strategies in advance when our mind is calm and rational rather than in the heat of the moment. In practice, you can implement Premeditatio Malorum by dedicating a few minutes each morning or evening to consider what could go wrong today, tomorrow. Not to torment yourself, but to consciously acknowledge the possibilities and affirm your ability to face them. A business owner might contemplate losing an important client. A student might imagine failing an exam. We can all consider events like health problems or financial losses. The key is to do this exercise with equanimity, not with fear. The Stoics believe this practice immunizes us against the emotional impact of adverse events. When we imagine losses or failures, we're practicing detachment from external things and reinforcing our confidence in the only thing truly ours, our capacity to respond virtuously to any circumstance. What potential setback could you visualize today, not to feed anxiety but to cultivate preparation? These three Stoic principles, the Dichotomy of Control, Amor Fati, and Premeditatio Malorum, form a powerful triad for navigating uncertainty with grace and resilience. They aren't just abstract philosophical ideas, but practical tools that can be immediately applied in your life. Starting today, try consciously identifying what is and isn't under your control in challenging situations. Practice embracing unwanted events as necessary and potentially beneficial. Dedicate a few minutes to visualize possible adversities and affirm your ability to face them with virtue. The goal isn't to eliminate uncertainty, it's an inescapable constant of human existence. Instead, these principles teach us to develop a different relationship with it, one that allows us to maintain inner stability even when everything around us is in flux. The beauty of Stoicism lies in its simplicity and universal applicability. Regardless of your background, beliefs, or circumstances, these principles are available to you right now. As Epictetus, a former slave who became one of Rome's most respected philosophers, said, "Don't seek for events to happen as you wish, but wish events to happen as they do, and your life will flow well." In a world that seems increasingly unpredictable, perhaps our best strategy isn't to seek more external control, but to cultivate the inner fortitude that allows us to remain centered in any storm. If this video resonated with you, consider exploring Stoicism further through the writings of Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. Their words, even after millennia, speak directly to the challenges we face today. If you've been practicing any of these principles in your own life, share your experience in the comments below. If this video brought you any value, consider subscribing to the channel for more explorations of practical philosophy, positive psychology, and contemplative practices. In the next video, we'll discuss how to apply philosophical minimalism to the digital age, a Stoic approach to navigating the constant bombardment of information and distractions. Remember, the goal isn't to control the uncontrollable, but to develop the wisdom to discern the difference and the strength to respond virtuously to any circumstance. Thank you for dedicating this time to contemplating these ancient principles. As the Stoics remind us, our time is finite and precious. I sincerely appreciate that you chose to spend part of it here. Until the next video, continue cultivating your inner fortress. The contemplative path leaves you with this final reflection. From Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.